Hello สวัสดีค่ะ
No come on let's see
Why?
Sifty's exciting
Sounds bad
let's see Sifty's exciting opening ready and
Hello สวัสดีค่ะ
okay anyway questions for us for this
No.
exciting day so we got some goldfish for Sifty's mom
My mom I think
Which-
she won't like
she might love goldfish. You know what's funny is probably the people at the store are like, wow, Thai people are really loving goldfish now. Because I bought so much
Two.
from them.
Two
I
times.
bought 4 probably.
Oh
Yeah. Anyway, questions? No?
เดี๋ยว
No. Yawns? Okay, so it's time for another exciting episode of
John's or not John's painful blah 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 by origin
history
history
lessons, right?
Lessons.
Full of confusion, forgotten dates, Sifty falling asleep, confusion, lies, just wrong statements.
history
I told people one time that the president of the United States, that President Trump was the 54th president.
54
Oops, no. 45. Anyway, if you want a real history lesson, make sure to watch a real history show. But you can come to our show for a laugh and some
and
confusion.
5 mistakes
And mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Find mistakes in John's review. Okay, so here we go. What is it?
people in the moon
Not in.
on
Oh, right. Okay, why don't you show people? Who do you think that is?
I can't remember his name
Okay. What do you know about the moon?
probably 2 guys
That's right? Yeah?
went to first 2 guys went to the moon
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
it happened in a long time
How long ago?
I don't know
How long do you think?
not over 100
Yeah, less than that. Yeah, 1969. Yeah. Anyway, do you know who that is?
I don't know
Probably Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong
Yeah, Neil
Oh,
Armstrong,
Neil
the
Armstrong.
first person on the moon.
and what about another
Buzz Aldrin. And then the other one who stayed in the command module was Michael Collins. He didn't go down to the moon. 2 went down to the moon. Okay, so let's hear the exciting lesson about the moon landing. So this is the greatest achievement of the United States and one of the greatest achievements in all of human history, right? So let's learn about the moon landing.
the moon landing
The moon landing, right? So, okay, so you have to understand the history first. That's why we're doing this in line. So, after World War II, after Hitler was killed, after he killed himself, the Soviet Union. Where's the Soviet Union? Soviet Union. He was. Who's this person? Oh no! Uh-oh. Lenin. Lenin was already dead.
Lenny
Lenny.
Lenin.
No, that was from in Memento. That was Lenny. No. Lenin was already dead, but the Soviet Union lived on after him. Okay, so the Soviet Union came to Germany from the east side, and the United States and the other allies came from the west side, from Normandy, from the beaches. Remember Saving Private Ryan? the movie Saving Private Ryan. So they all came to Germany and they took over Berlin. They took the whole country. Unconditional surrender. There was nothing left in the country. There was nothing. So the only thing that people could take were the scientists. Right?
Science.
Now, Einstein was not in Germany. Because remember, he was Jewish. He was in the United States.
He ran away.
But there were many other scientists who, like Einstein, were in Germany. And they created weapons that everyone wanted, the United States and the Soviet Union. And so the scientists knew that if they surrendered, they said, okay, here we are, probably they would be taken care of because they were smart. So the German scientists, not Einstein, but smart like Einstein, tried to find American soldiers to surrender to because they had two choices. They were going to be taken by the Soviet Union or they were going to be taken by the United States. And most of them said, well, if we're going to have to be slaves, we better go to the United States. Probably they'll treat us better. We don't want to end up in the gulag. So they tried, if they could, to find American soldiers and surrender to them. They said, we're scientists. We know how to build things. Don't kill us, right? So the ones that could tried to find American soldiers to surrender to, if they could. Some of those people were led by a very, very smart man named Wernher von Braun. In the United States, many people call him von Braun because his name is spelled in German. It looks like von Braun. But I have heard his daughter saying his name, and she says von Braun. So you might hear me say von Braun, but his real name was von Braun. Sorry, von Braun. He was one of the best rocket. Do you know what a rocket is? A rocket.
Okay, ยาเนี่ยจรวด
Jalua, right? So he was one of the best rocket scientists in the world. There weren't very many rockets at that time. And he and his team of scientists built a very famous rocket, a missile, in Germany called the V2.
missile
Yeah.
missile is rocket
It's like a rocket, but it has a bomb on it to kill people. So instead of just going up with a satellite, it has a bomb in it, and it hits a city and explodes. I don't know what it was called in Germany, in German.
Nuclear.
Well, not at that time. Not at World War II. Now, yes. But at that time, no. So I don't know what the V2, I don't know what V stands for in German, but the translation into English is retribution weapon. Retribution means like revenge. Because Hitler was angry that, that the United States and Britain bombed Germany and killed people. So they made a very famous rocket called the V2. And they shot this rocket at London and probably Antwerp, probably Belgium. I'm not sure exactly. I don't do a lot of research. But probably they shot these rockets, these missiles, at London and Antwerp, where there were American and Allied forces. And the bombs weren't very big, and the rockets were not very strong. So when they hit the cities, they didn't really cause that much damage, but everyone was afraid because there was no defense. There was no way to protect against these rockets. They would come down from the sky really, really fast, and there was no way to stop them. So they didn't really cause a lot of damage. I think there were 9,000 people who died because of the V2s. There were 3,000 V2s that were launched, but there were only 9,000 people who were killed. 12,000 people died building the V2. So Hitler and von Braun, they had a slave factory to build these V2s, and they would be cruel to the people who were building them, and 12,000 people died making these rockets. Only 9,000 people died because of the rockets actually doing anything. But everyone was so afraid of these V2s that the American army and the Soviet army, they wanted these rockets for their militaries. Okay? So von Braun surrendered to the United States Army. He said, okay, here we are, don't kill us, we'll build rockets for you. The American military and the United States military brought him to the United States in a secret plan called Project Paperclip. Paperclip is the thing that holds the papers together like this. Not a staple, not this one, not
I know.
the one that holds the papers together. It
ready.
looks like, yeah, that's a paperclip. So there was a special plan called Project Paperclip, and it was for bringing German scientists to the United States secretly. Why secretly? Well, probably because at that time, the American government told American people, the Germans are evil. They're monsters. They're criminals. They're from hell. And then if they said, okay, well now remember those monsters? Well now they're working for us. Probably Americans wouldn't have been so happy. So in the beginning, they kept it a secret. They brought all of these scientists to the United States, and they said, okay, you build that V2 for us. The Soviet Union also got German scientists, but I'm not sure who they got, and I don't know how much technology or what they got. I have no idea. Not very many people talk about it. But anyway, so after that, after World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union, after Lenin died, started to have a lot of trouble because the Soviet Union was closed, it was secretive, nobody knew what was going on.
The United States and Soviet have a lot of problems.
But the armies were too big to fight and everyone was tired of fighting already after World War II. So people said, well, we just have two ideologies. So in America, we said we had capitalism. Remember, what was the word that I couldn't pronounce?
ทุนนิยม
Right. So in America, we said we had capitalism, and the Soviet Union was communism. So each side wanted everyone in the world to join them. So America said, hey, join us. And the Soviet Union said, hey, you should join us. And the idea was, let's show how great our idea is by building technology. So the Soviet Union decided, let's send up a rocket into space and show people how great communism is. At that time, Americans were not really worried about the Soviet Union because we thought that they were just farmers, like potato farmers, and they didn't really have a lot of technology. America had a lot of money because it wasn't destroyed after World War II. So no airplanes could come to the United States because it was too far away. So there was American cities were not destroyed. The only bombing that happened in the United States was Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, and that was only a military base, only a Navy base. So all of American cities were still making money, were still okay. The Soviet Union was destroyed, and 25 million people were dead. So American people didn't really think the Soviet Union was going to do anything impressive. But then, surprisingly, on, let me see, let me make sure I get the date right here. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union sent up a rocket with a satellite, the very first satellite, called Sputnik 1. And it was just a ball, and it was made of aluminum or metal, and it would shine when the sun hit it. So everyone in the world saw this satellite going by for the first time. In all of human history, no one had been able to put anything up into space like a moon. But this little moon, this little satellite, was the first one. And everyone in the world said, this communism is really amazing. Look what they did. They put this satellite up into space. And so everyone in the United States was ashamed. Everyone was angry and scared because they thought, well, how did these farmers put up this rocket into space? I have seen some interviews with American scientists when they asked them, what did you think when Sputnik went up? And they said, I didn't understand how these potato farmers were able to put anything in space. So American people were surprised and scared because they thought that these rockets were going to start coming down on the United States cities. And they were also scared because they thought everyone in the Soviet Union was smarter. They went to school, they worked harder. They thought American people were just lazy, playing games, and Soviet people were working hard to build a better country. So everyone in the United States was scared that maybe communism was much better. So the president of the United States at that time was, we call him JFK, John F. Kennedy. And he was very young. He was the 35th president of the United States. Usually presidents in the United States are pretty old. He was young. And some people were scared that he wasn't going to be strong enough to resist or to fight with the Soviet Union. So everyone in the United States said, okay, we have to send up our rocket to fight against the Soviet Union. So the first American rocket that we had was called Vanguard. And on the December 6th, 1957, so a couple months after the Soviet Union, we tried in the United States, we tried to send American rocket up into space. And it just exploded, and everyone laughed.
Have people inside?
No, just a satellite. At that time, there were no people yet. It was too small and not strong enough. So people in the world called the American rocket Flopnik. So remember, the Russian rocket is called Sputnik, but people called the American rocket Flopnik. Flop means like fail,
Flopnet.
like failing. So instead of Sputnik, it was like failing one, Flopnik. And everyone laughed and said, okay, Americans are stupid. You really messed up.
They made quickly.
Well, they tried to get it ready quickly, and they only had a few months. They tried to say, okay, listen, we can try also, but it didn't work. And everyone was ashamed. I think it was on TV. They had a live TV. They said, okay, we're ready.
Oh, probably I saw
So,
in Google.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. You can find it online. You can see it exploded, and everyone laughed. Probably people in the Soviet Union saw it, and they said, haha. At that time, we used to call people in the Soviet Union the Reds.
Means?
Because their flag was red, they called themselves the Red Army. We usually call communist countries Reds, the Reds. So we used to call the Soviet Union the Reds, the people, the Reds. So the Reds, people said the Reds are winning, and communism is maybe better than we thought. So after that, the president said, okay, the American scientists, not so smart, let's get those German scientists. Let's get them to do it. So they went to von Braun and his team of German scientists, and they said, okay, you build the rocket. And he only had a few months, I think they gave him a few months, but finally he sent up the first rocket, and it was the first time that the United States sent up a rocket. I can't remember what it was called, but anyway, after a few months, the United States sent up the first satellite, and it succeeded because of the German scientists and von Braun. So, okay, after that, it was too late. Because,
very quickly,
yeah, they did.
A few months.
They already were building the rockets, but they weren't serious yet because they didn't have any money, and the government didn't say you can launch it. You can't go up yet. But after the Soviet Union sent up a rocket, they said, okay, now you got to do it quickly. And their rocket was almost ready, and they sent it up, and it worked, and it got up to space. But it was small and not very impressive. So it was too late though, because the Soviet Union after that sent up the first dog into space called Laika, and then the first person, and his name was Yuri Gagarin on April 12th.
Soviets will go one step.
They after the satellite, after just the ball, then they sent up a dog, and then a person, and that
Three
person.
times.
It was years later. It was in 1961. It took them another 4 years.
But America still made.
Our rockets were exploding and breaking, and their rocket was doing very well. And the first person to go into space, his name was Yuri Gagarin. Many children in the Soviet Union, and now even, are named Yuri. Many Russian people are named Yuri because of Yuri Gagarin. You can see pictures of him in 1961. He was the first human being to go up into space. Maybe there was a secret Russian plan before that, but he's the first one that we know about. And he came home back to Earth, and he was a hero. He went to many countries, he went to many cities, and everyone said, wow, communism is really great, and this guy is amazing. And he was a hero.
He's good guy or not?
Yeah, if you see pictures of him, he's well spoken, he speaks quietly, but he's tough. He was a military pilot. At that time, all astronauts were military pilots because they thought that they were the strongest. Okay, so then America sent up our first person, who was named Alan Shepard, on May 5th, 1961. So a few months after the Soviet Union, but they kept beating us. They did the first satellite, they did the first dog, they did the first person, the first woman in space, and her name was Tereshkova. On June 16th, 1963. So 2 years after Yuri Gagarin. So
But everyone can survive.
yes, no, some people died, but those people did. Yes. So after Alan Shepard, the president of the United States, John F. Kennedy, he said, well, we have lost the space race, the race to space. We didn't send the first satellite, we didn't send the first person, we didn't send the first dog. We need to win. We need to have a big plan. So he gave a famous speech on December 7th, on May 25th, 1961. he gave a speech and he said, you can see it, you'll see it in your life. It's very, very famous, his speech. He said, we choose to go to the moon. He said, we're going to go to the moon because we have to win. We lost everything else, so we need to win. We're going to go to the moon.
America.
And he said, okay, we're going to spend whatever money we have to. We're going to do whatever we have to. We're going to go to the moon. And everyone in America said, uh-oh, that's going to be really, really expensive and really difficult. Not everyone thought that it was going to work because we had a lot of problems before that. And people said, well, this is dangerous. Nowadays, if you look in my passport, you can see a picture of the moon and I don't know if it's Apollo, but maybe some satellite going to the moon. American people are really, really proud of going to the moon. But at that time...
They used Apollo 13. No, 13.
That was a problem after.
Oh.
that was a problem after. So at that time, though, only 39% of people wanted to go to the moon. 55% of American people said it's too expensive and it might not work. And if we send people to the moon and they die, then that's going to be really shameful. So American people were not really excited about going to the moon at that time. But the president said, we have to beat the Soviet Union in space or people are
because
going...
they lost.
Yeah. Okay? So then, everyone in the United States started to get a little bit excited about this space race. It was like a competition. So people said, well, we might not make it, but let's beat the Soviet Union. That will be fun. So the United States spent a huge amount of money. From 1960 to 1973, we spent $28 billion, which today is about $281 billion to go. $288 billion to go to the moon. The technology to go to the moon, we didn't have. We needed computers, which they didn't have. We needed rockets that we didn't have. We needed technology that we didn't have. And so all of the universities in the United States, all of the biggest companies in the United States, and all of the money of the United States went into trying to go to the moon. The Soviet Union said, okay, well, we're going to go to the moon also. And
but they thought after you.
No, they were going to try to go first. They already won for the satellite, the dog, the person, the woman. They beat everything. They said, okay, well, we'll go to the moon also. The United States had a lot more money, though, and a lot more technology, but the United States was behind. The good luck for the United States, we had Werner von Braun.
German team.
Yeah. So they became a part of NASA. So the United States has an organization called NASA. You'll see people with a NASA shirt. People like NASA because NASA doesn't have any military weapons. They were created only, supposedly, to send people to space and to explore. So a lot of people like NASA because it doesn't have any weapons or any guns, and it was only supposed to be for exploring. And it was established on October 1st, 1958. At that time, there were a lot of different parts of the military that were trying to build rockets. They wanted to build missiles. They wanted to build a rocket with a nuclear bomb on the top so that they could shoot it at the Soviet Union, or the Soviet Union shoot at the United States, and nothing could stop it. So that's what they were trying to build. That's what the team of German scientists were trying to build for the United States. But when John F. Kennedy said, okay, we have to go to the moon, then they took all of these scientists from the Army and the United States Air Force, and they put them all into NASA. And they said, okay, you build a rocket and go to the moon. He said that we're going to go to the moon by the end of the decade. So he said that speech in 1961. That means the United States had to go to the moon in less than 9 years. So for 9 years, the United States spent a huge amount of money and all of the resources pretty much of the United States to try to go to the moon. There were many rockets before Apollo. We had Gemini and Mercury that just went up and tried to test things. Some of them didn't work. We had one that exploded. There was a fire in the rocket and all of the astronauts died in the rocket. But people said we have to keep going. We can't quit. Then there was another problem, which was that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. He was killed. He was shot in the head.
Himself?
No, by an assassin. Someone killed him.
In the rocket?
No, he was the president.
Oh, the president.
He was driving in a car. You can see it on videos, and he's shot in the head. That was on November 22nd, 1963 in Texas. He was in a car. He was going down the street, and he was shot in the head. So after that, people thought, uh-oh, things aren't going very well. The president who wanted to go to the moon is dead. It's costing a lot of money. The rockets aren't really working so well, and there's a lot of problems. But thankfully, people decided, and the next president decided, that we should still continue to go to the moon, even though the president was dead, and even though there were so many problems. So, thanks to Wernher von Braun and his team, they became part of NASA, and he was very, very, very smart. I don't have a picture of him, but you can see him online. You can search for him. He was a genius, like Einstein. He was really, really, really smart, and he was very, very good at managing people and building teams that could accomplish difficult tasks. So what he built was a huge rocket called the Saturn V. It was the biggest rocket that had ever been built at that time. It's huge. If you look at pictures of it, you can see a little person standing next to it. It's like this big, and a person is like this big. It's really huge.
Other country make not big like that.
Nobody could make rockets except the United States and the Soviet Union.
And what about Soviet? Is big like that or not?
Not as big as this one.
Oh,
They built
it's big.
Yeah, they tried to build another rocket after called the N1, which was bigger, but it exploded. So anyway, he worked to build the Saturn V, and it cost $135 million, I think, per each one. So each one was $135 million to build. They had a lot of trouble with the engines. They're called F1 engines, and they would explode. They destroyed a lot of buildings when they were trying to test them, because no one had built any rocket that big before, any engines that big before. Finally, though, they managed to build the rockets, and they started with the Apollo program. Apollo means averter of evil. Averter means like saving you from evil, but it's like a god. Apollo is an ancient god from myth, and I read that the person who chose that name, he chose that name, Abe Silverstein. He chose that name, I read, because the Apollo in the story has a chariot, like a horse and a cart that flies across the sun in the story. And he said that the plan to go to the moon was just as crazy as that story that he used to read about. That's what I read. Anyway, you know what a horse and chariot are? So a horse, and then behind the horse there's like a little car. That's a cart. And usually we put rocks in there or something and the horse pulls it. If a person sits in there, it's called a chariot. In the story, Apollo goes around the sun in this chariot pulled by his horses. And
like Santa Claus.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So he thought that it was the same crazy idea. So they had a lot of plans to build these Apollo rockets. There was Apollo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eventually, Apollo 8 was the first rocket that went around the moon to test to see if we could even get to the moon. No one landed on the moon, but they just went around the moon and came back. That was Apollo 8. And you can watch videos of that. It was very impressive.
Has movie about Apollo
11 and 13.
11 or 13?
Yes.
13.
Both 11 and 13. So there were a lot of troubles, but none of the Apollo rockets built by von Braun and his team ever exploded. All of them worked perfectly, and it was very amazing because before that, a lot of rockets had not worked perfectly. Anyway, we have to move a little quicker here. So finally, Apollo 11 was the first rocket that was ready to go to the moon and to land on the moon. It was Apollo 11. Remember, there was Apollo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, but they were testing the different parts of the rockets and the technology to make sure that they could get to the moon. Because there were a lot of problems. They had to build a computer. The computers at that time were huge. It's not like a phone today. They were as big as a building. And so to build a very small computer that could calculate about the radar and landing and getting to the moon was very, very difficult. The Soviet Union at that time didn't have the technology to do that. But IBM and American universities, probably MIT, had a lot of scientists who were working on computers, and they built one of the first very, very small computers to go in this rocket to go to the moon. Apollo 11 on July 20th, 1969, just a few months before the end of the promise from John F. Kennedy, he said, we're going to go to the moon before 1970. So just 6 months, a couple months before the end of the year, finally, the United States sent the first rocket to try to figure out why Sibty's yawning. Okay. So then they got to the moon on July 20th, 1969, and there were 3 people in the rocket. There was Neil Armstrong, there was Buzz Aldrin, and there was Michael Collins. So there was 2 parts of the rocket. There was the return module, and there was the lander. So the part that needed to go down to the moon had Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. It went down to the moon, and then they were going to get out and walk around, and then it was going to come back up and connect again with the piece that had Michael Collins in it, and then they were going to go home. So that was the plan. First, they go up into space, they go to the moon, part of the rocket comes off and goes down, goes back up, and then goes back to the Earth, right? So Neil Armstrong was, I think, 38 at that time, and he went down with Buzz Aldrin in this lander. They had some trouble. They had some trouble with the computers, but they landed on the moon. And then he got out, and he stepped on the moon, and he famously said a speech. He said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
One giant leap for mankind.
One small step for man. That means he just took a small step, but he said this is a very big step for everyone.
And he put.
Well, you put the flag after, but first he just stepped on the moon. So you can watch that video. It's black and white. It's not very good, but you can see in that video the very famous moon landing. Michael Collins did not land on the moon. He was around the moon circling, waiting for them to come back in case there was a problem. And he was maybe Sipti was also there yawning. We're not sure exactly what was going on. But anyway, Neil Armstrong was the first person to land on the moon, and American people were very excited because finally we won something in the space race. We lost everything else. Lost the satellite, lost the person, lost the
5-10 times, but
one success going to the moon, which was very, very hard.
United States went to the moon first before Soviets, right?
No one else has ever gone to the moon. After the United States went to the moon, the Russians tried to go to the moon. They built a huge rocket called the N1, but it exploded. It blew up. They didn't have enough money, and they couldn't go to the moon. So far, the United States is the only country that has ever sent anyone to the moon. China and some other countries would like to try to go to the moon. Probably in this century, another country will try to send someone to the moon. But for the last 70 years, 40 to 60 years, no one has been able to go back because the cost and the danger are really, really high. So 24 men went to the moon. Only 12 landed on the moon. So in all of human history so far, only 24 people have even been near the moon, and only 12 have ever landed on the moon. There were no women who went to the moon because at that time, NASA only took pilots from the Air Force, test pilots from the Air Force. And NASA didn't care if there were women or not on the moon, but they had to take test pilots from the Air Force, and the Air Force didn't have any test pilots that were women. So
at that time.
Yeah. So there were never any women who went to the moon because, not because of NASA, but because of the Air Force never had women test pilots. There were 375,000 people who worked on the program to send Apollo 11 to the moon. 375,000 people working in universities and institutions and scientists. All the programs, universities.
Help to go to the moon.
It was a huge program that cost a huge amount of money and took 9 years.
They can get money?
No.
No, just free. Because exciting.
No, it was a race to beat communism, to try to show
people help each other
to show that this is a better idea, and that it will work better, right? Okay, so the moon is 384,000 kilometers away, and it took 3 or 4 days to get to the moon, and then 3 or 4 days to come back.
3 or 4 days. That is quickly.
Well, but the rocket is very, very small. It's about the size of this chair. So the 3 people in a little tiny room like this for 3 days, like this, waiting to get to the moon, and 3 days to get there. The Russians had a very, very smart scientist also building their rockets. His name was Sergei Korolev. And he, at first, I'm pretty sure, he was arrested and he was sent to the Gulag because he was smart. And then after the Soviet Union decided we need to go to the moon and fight the United States, they took him out of the gulag and said, okay, you start building the rockets. In the Soviet Union, though, people were secretive, and he was not on TV. He was in a secret facility, in a secret factory, and most Russian people never knew his name.
Like Korea, North Korea. Everything is secret.
Similar, yeah, similar to that, yeah. So the Russian rocket that he worked on, even Yuri Gagarin and all of those projects, he was Russian. The American team, remember, was German. Thankfully, we had the Germans, but the Russians actually had their own person. His name was Sergei Korolev, and he was very, very smart. But Russian people didn't know his name because the government kept him a secret. Now we know his name and people know him as a hero in the Soviet Union, but at that time nobody knew who was working on the project. He died in 1966. He had some surgery or something and he died. Okay, so a couple more things here. There was a problem with the computer that they used when they were trying to go down to the moon. And the computer was very simple at that time, but it was very complicated for them to build. And it was very hard to build the software and the hardware, and no one really knew very much about computers at that time. But they needed the computer to do calculations about the trajectory, how to land on the moon, how to get back up into space, and how to aim at the Earth in the right way so that they didn't go too far. If this is the Earth like this, and you try to come back from the moon, and you don't come to the right area. If you go too far here, then you just go off into space, and if you go too close, then you crash. You have to come just at the perfect location. And you can't fly around like in Star Wars. They only have enough gas, enough fuel to try one time. And if they miss, then they all die. So they had to be very, very careful, and they had to be very, very careful with the weight of the rocket, because it was really just 1 pound, just 1 kilogram they had to try to save, because everything
power is important.
Everything is really, 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 really special.
Because they calculate it for just that.
Yes, only to go to the moon, exactly. So they had a problem when they were coming down to the moon. It was called a 1202, 1201 alarm. They were coming down, and the computer said, problem, problem. And you can hear, if you watch on the video, you can see one of the people in the spaceship says 1202 alarm. He's a little bit scared because they're 300,000 kilometers away, and he was a little bit scared. But it turns out that it's very complicated. I tried to watch a video about it. I didn't really understand. But something happened with the computer that it was trying to process some information that was not supposed to be running at that time. And nowadays, computers, they can do multiple things at the same time. But at that time, they couldn't. Nowadays, it's okay. If you start another app, the other one can freeze or can run in the background, it's okay. But at that time, if the memory filled up, then the computer would turn off and have to turn back on again. And this 1202 alarm was because the memory was full in the computer, and it was causing the computer to restart. When he said 1202 alarm, nobody at NASA knew what that was, because they were planning for other problems. They weren't planning for this problem. But some computer scientist in the room said, don't worry, that just means that the computer is getting rid of old information that it doesn't need anymore, and it's not a problem. So they decided to land on the moon. But if it wasn't for that, then they might have had to abort. They might have had to say, okay, this is dangerous, we shouldn't try. So it was very close at that time that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were not going to try to land because of this 1202 alarm. Anyway, what's important about that is that even a computer at that time was very sophisticated. It was very, very special because it could get rid of programs or information that it didn't need. And it had the ability to focus on priorities, right? It could focus on just what was most important, and the jobs that were not important, throw them away. SIPTI also needs to learn what that computer learned, which is to focus only on what's important and let the things that are unimportant go away.
I'm not smart like computer.
But it was a 1960s computer, so hopefully you can you can learn what it learned. Okay, so a couple more things before we go about the moon. Nowadays, NASA is still around. Now they mostly are sending things to Mars. They have a Mars rover. It's like a big robot. If you look it up, you look at Mars rover, you can see it's like the size of a car. It's there right now on Mars. It drives around. There's no people in it. It just drives around.
Like in the movie Martian.
I don't think so because I don't remember. I think that was a car for people. This robot has no people in it.
But look like that.
The wheels are not that big.
Or like bug.
It kind of looks like a big square box with 6 wheels on it and a camera sticking up, and it has a hand.
Steels.
Yeah, there's a few of them. There's a new one that's going to go there this year, I think. So if you see NASA now, probably you'll see Curiosity and Opportunity. Those were the names of the robots that are there. They go very, very slow. They only move like this. They go very, very slow. But they are looking for rocks. They go up to rocks and try to do chemistry and geology analysis to see if there was any water on Mars. To see if there was any life.
People can stay or not.
To see if people can stay and to see if there were any
Life.
Any life there a long time ago. Yeah.
But they can find anything or not.
So far, I think they did find some water. Not water now, but evidence of water a long time ago. Now Mars doesn't have a very good atmosphere, and so it's too cold there. There's too much radiation, and probably nothing could live on the surface of Mars. Buzz Aldrin, he died in 2012. Sorry, Neil Armstrong. He died in 2012, and he is considered a hero in the United States. He was a Navy aviator. He fought in the Korean War, and he became...
He had children.
He had a few children, yes, but I don't know who they were. I don't know how many there were. Anyway, one more thing about the moon before we go, which is conspiracy theories. Okay, so conspiracy means like secret plan, and theory means like scientist or learning. So conspiracy theory means something like secret plan.
Learning. Learning secret plan.
Learning or secret plan creator or secret plan research or something like that. If you go to the United States and you watch TV, you will hear some people say that the moon landing was fake, that it wasn't real, that the US government lost the space race and they were so scared that they just made a fake movie about going to the moon. So you can find books about it, you can watch movies about it. There's many people who will say that the moon landing wasn't real. Usually they show the picture of the moon and they say, well, where are the stars? they say, if this was a real moon, then there would be stars here, right? But I guess they think that NASA is so dumb that they forgot to
But right
stars.
now, but right now people accept nothing.
No, you can find many people in the United States who still say that the moon landing wasn't real, and you will hear people saying that. Many people say it wasn't real. It's just to trick the Russians or something like that. But probably the Russians would have noticed because they had their own rovers on the moon already. They had satellites pointed at the moon. They knew what was going to the moon. If it was fake, the Russians would have said that it was fake first before anyone else. Anyway, you also heard conspiracy theories about everything. One of them we learned about with Elvis Presley. Remember, conspiracy theorists at his time thought that the government arrested him, sent him to Germany because his dancing was so dangerous to American society that he had to be gotten rid of. So in the United States, you can find conspiracy theories about anything. My mom believes conspiracy theories. She's always telling me, she tells me, John, she says the planes that fly overhead and you see those white trails, planes, airplanes.
Airplane.
You know they have those white trails in the sky? They leave like a track behind them of white, looks like a cloud. They're called contrails. My mom says that they're spraying chemicals.
Spray chemical.
in the air.
Yeah, like
my mom
grandma.
My mom believes all conspiracy theorists. She likes them. She likes to research them. She tells me how she goes online and researches them. I say, Mom, why don't you read a scientific book or why don't you learn? But she prefers to learn the conspiracy theories. Anyway, just so you understand, you will hear people saying that the moon landing wasn't real, and don't be surprised. Many people will say that, and they really believe it. There's nothing wrong with conspiracy theorists. Usually they're very smart. The conspiracy theorists are just trying to make money. The people who are dumb are the people who believe them. Conspiracy theorists are usually really smart people.
Right now we have information enough to tell people it's real or not.
The people who are conspiracy theorists are making money. So they write a book, they make a TV show, they make a lot of money. It doesn't matter what science you show them, they're making money from that. If they changed their opinion, they wouldn't make any money. So there's no reason to change. It's about money, right? Anyway, so that is our exciting story of what?
The moon landing.
Yeah. Well, who's this person?
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah. And what was the name of the...
And two guys.
And two more guys, yes.
I don't know.
What was the name of this rocket that went to the moon?
I can't remember.
Apollo 11.
11.
As Sipti said, there's also a movie about Apollo 13. Apollo 13 had a problem. In the United States, like I said before, we don't like the number 13. It's a bad luck number. In the United States, if you go to a hotel, many times there's no floor 13 because no one wants to live on that level. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. No one wants to stay on the 13 level. So
It comes from...
I don't know. But you can look it up if you want. But I don't know where originally bad luck from 13 came
What
from.
about good number?
3, 7 usually. If you go to the casino, they usually have 7, 7, 7. People think that that's good luck. 7, sometimes 3. People have their own lucky numbers, but I think that most American people think 7 is some type of lucky.
In Thailand, we believe in 9 because 9 like one step, 9. Walk one step. Walk in front.
That's what it means?
Yeah, 9 like 9.
Okay.
Thai we say 9.
It also has another meaning, which is walk. It has 2 meanings.
Yes,
Okay.
two meanings.
Okay. So Apollo 13 had a problem. Scientists don't usually believe in luck, right? So they say, well, NASA said, we'll call
Not
it.
important.
We'll call it 13. There's nothing bad that's going to happen.
And then problem.
And some people say, well, you
Someone
shouldn't.
die.
No, but it was very close. So they couldn't land on the moon. They were going to go to the moon and try to land, but they had a problem. There was some problem with the air, or there was an explosion. You can watch the movie.
Probably I watched for a long time.
Not for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah.
In a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago. You can watch that. There was a lot of problems. They couldn't land on the moon and they had to come back. But they did come back and nobody died.
And after that, they still used 13.
Sure. Yeah.
Still used?
Yeah. NASA doesn't care because they're scientists. So they think that there's no such thing as bad luck. Anyway, so Sipti, when someone shows you this picture, what are you going to say? What is this?
That is the moon. And that guy was Neil Armstrong.
Neil
Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the moon with 2 guys.
2 other guys.
Two
Can't
other
remember their
guys.
names. Okay. Why did they go to the moon?
To show Soviet Union, United can
United
can could
United
United
States.
United States
States.
United States
State.
States
Mhm.
United States USA
Yes?
could go can do
Could
go
do it.
could do it.
Okay. Which is called what? The fight of the United States and Soviet Union to go to the moon is called
I don't know.
the space race.
The space race.
Yes, the space race. And we're very proud of going to the moon.
Because
Many conspiracies.
Because USA lost.
Right, so many other things.
Failed many times.
But remember, at that time, only 39% of people wanted to go because it was too expensive. Good. Okay, so then that is the end of John's painful history. Listens. Exactly. We have one more to do. I think some of you saw it when I was going through the pages. We have one more, and then we will be done with those little history lessons. Why are we learning these history lessons, Sabdi?
To learn about what people in United States
United
things United States USA think.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. But what I'm trying to show you is that when I watch TV, I hear about these people and these things all the time. And if you don't understand the history, you won't know what they're talking about. It won't make sense. Part of English is grammar, that's true. Part of it is pronunciation, that's true. But part of it is the history of the United States and the UK. I don't know the history of the UK, so I can't teach you, but I can teach you about this. And because most movies are from America and most TV shows are from America, this is what we talk about more than UK movie
It's important in the world.
If you don't understand these things, you won't know what's going on. And the last one I will tell you even more because it's more complicated. Okay, anyway, that's the end of our exciting Apollo 11 show. As you see here, we have the flag from my great country of Chile. Right? As Sifty told you, I am the first English teacher from Chile. When I was a kid, it was always my dream to grow up and to ruin other countries' speaking skills with my poor English speaking skills. So thanks to Sifty and to Thai people for allowing me to come here and to teach you my bad English skills. Many people watching this show probably say, John, you know, you're an idiot. This show is dumb. You don't even really seem like you speak English very well. Well, now you know what the problem is. Sifty told you. I'm from Chile. Anyway, thank you so much, Sifty.
Thank you.
And we will see you, hopefully, soon. But you never know. Sifty doesn't always come every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Bye.